Needless Things Podcast. Hey, Phantomaniacs, welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. I am your host, Dave, and I'm excited because we did a big old wrestling episode, and we haven't done a wrestling episode in a while, but there's a lot to talk about. And actually, now, today, there's a lot more to talk about than there was even Sunday when we recorded this. What this episode is my pal Arian, the guy I've been watching wrestling with for 20 years now, maybe longer. He came over so we could watch AEW Double or Nothing. And before the pay-per-view, we had a conversation just kind of the state of wrestling. How we feel about it, what's going on, the companies that are out there that we're watching right now. Talked wrestling. And then we watched AEW Double or Nothing and got back on and talked about Double or Nothing and AEW and what they accomplished and whatever else. Basically reviewed the show. And it was just we had a great time. We had an awesome time just kicking back post-quarantine, I suppose. This is the first wrestling event I've watched with non-family guests in well over a year. So it was awesome, and you guys are going to enjoy this conversation because he and I, like I said, we've been talking wrestling for over 2 decades now. So we know each other's wrestling tastes well. But before we get to that, there is some stuff to cover. First of all, I want to mention more releases from WWE today. Braun Strowman, Ruby Riott, Buddy Murphy. I'm going off the top of my head because I kind of saw this right before I left work and I didn't get to make any notes about it. But to me, WWE never did right by Ruby Riott. She's incredible. She's a great talent. She makes everybody she works with look like $1 million. And I think wherever she ends up, personally, I'm hoping for Impact, but I'm hoping for whatever's best for her. But I would love to see her at Impact in the Knockouts division. I think that would be awesome. But all of these folks are obviously. Oh, Aleister Black was another one. Very shocking considering he's been on TV, building up what appeared to be a huge story, which they rarely do anymore. So yeah, a lot of releases, a lot of speculation about why WWE would release as somebody as high a profile and unique as Braun Strowman, somebody as interesting and currently invested in as Aleister Black. People talking about is WWE getting ready to be sold. Who knows? I don't know. I don't even really speculate about things like that. I think it's possible. But at the same time, I just cannot see Vince McMahon letting go of it. And what about Triple H and Stephanie? What's the deal there? What are their roles? If the company gets sold and they're just employees, what does that mean? My little weird fantasy booking thing I had is what if WWE gets sold to, most likely Comcast. But Triple H somehow puts together a bid to buy ownership or whatever of NXT. And NXT becomes literally its own brand, which it may as well be at this point because the quality disparity between NXT and the main roster is so. I don't like saying main roster. I say it all the time because it's an easy way to encapsulate Raw and SmackDown. But to me, NXT is a far superior product from either of those shows. And I'm not. The talent in WWE is the best talent in the world, but they are not being served by their masters, I guess, by their bosses, by creative, by anybody in that company, really. But we get more into that in the episode. I just wanted to mention that those releases happened, that there's talk about things that I think are unlikely, and yet possible. So moving on from WWE news, there's also a completely different topic, G.I. Joe news. So Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast, which is part of the Needless Things family, is moving back to its first Monday of the month slot, because you are now getting a Needless Things episode every single Friday, and then the first Monday of the month, you will get a new episode of Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast. And what we're going to be doing is recording it Monday night, and as soon as we're done, I put it together and release it. So it's going to be late night on Monday when it comes out, but that's just the easiest way to do it, I think. So what we're going to be talking about this Monday is we have some segments planned, but Yo-Jo June, a G.I. Joe fan fest, whatever Hasbro calls it, is happening Friday. So, in theory, there will be lots of news, lots of announcements about the franchise, potentially some new pre-orders. We don't really know, because Hasbro is not very open about the G.I. Joe brand. There's the Major Blood Cobra Special Missions Cobra Island figure, which you can find a review of on the Needless Things YouTube channel, that got dropped. Like, people were finding it. And then Hasbro Pulse put up a thing saying, hey, find out more about this guy in June. And then he started hitting targets to the point where I was actually able to get one for me and one for my son, because he's collecting this line now too, which makes it doubly frustrating to find these exclusives. So Major Blood hit, and they haven't announced him yet, in a weird way. I don't know what's going on with the G.I. Joe brand. I know there's a new brand manager, but we talk all about that on Audible Interlude, so please check out. This will be our 12th episode. We've been doing it for a year now, which I would love to do it more frequently than once a month, but I just can't with my schedule. So check that out Monday. We'll have a full report on Yo-Jo June. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about before we get down to business here is the day before Double or Nothing, AEW had a fan fest that by all accounts was a massive success. I so badly wish that I could have been there. I was working, of course, because literally every weekend this year that anything is happening, I'm working. Joe Fest, working. Garbage playing in Atlanta, I'm working. Atlanta Comic-Con, I'm working. It's horrible. It's horrible. But I'm not going to get into day job stuff today, because we have got a lot of action figure news to cover. You guys, Jazwares showed so much new AEW stuff. It was insane. I'm looking right now at the list of everything that was shown. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anything here. Okay, so first of all, they previewed the very first wave of the Unmatched collection, which is the second line of AEW figures. It will be on pegs beside the Unrivaled line. And it looks like one figure per wave is going to have kind of a gimmick to it, and then the rest of it is sort of a standard wave. But the very first wave is powerful, opening up with finally Dr. Britt Baker, the newly crowned AEW Women's Champion, one of the faces of AEW, if you ask me, somebody who has worked since I started watching. She has gone from someone that I won't say I rolled my eyes at, but I just didn't quite see the potential. And I am not infallible in calling whether or not people are going to be great. Thunder Rosa, the second I saw her, I was like, she's a superstar. She's the future of any women's division. Britt Baker didn't click with me like that. But she had injuries. Like, there were some things going against her. And as she talked more and more, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I see what she is. And now she's amazing. She's a champion, and she's getting an action figure and a chase variant in this wave. Figure looks great. I'm not even going to bother talking about how good most of the figures look, because I think AEW is the single best action figure line best mass market line, because obviously Mezco's 112 Collective will always be the best. But AEW is the best mass market line going right now. The figures are incredible. So we saw Britt Baker. We saw Miro with a yelling head, blonde hair. So it's already outdated, but I kind of don't care because I want to have his first look when he showed up in AEW because it was so big and so impactful. We're getting a new Dustin Rhodes with the blue paint rather than the red that we've seen so far. A new Darby Allin with completely different body paint that looks incredible. It's like the Twisted Tree body paint. Looks great. And then a new Kenny Omega that's just different gear. Maybe bigger hair. I'm not sure, but it's cool. And then for the first time, an LJN style Cody Rhodes that isn't just LJN style, it is LJN. Apparently, Jazwares either owns LJN now or is licensing LJN, but it's a big rubber figure like the old school LJN figures. It looks great. I hope it's big and heavy and like you could knock a donkey out with it, just like the old LJNs. I think it's a great gimmick. I think it's something for the collectors, but it's also a novelty for people who are just getting into these wrestling figures. So Unmatched Series 1 looks great. Unmatched Series 2 is really... This is where it's at. This whole wave is a winner for me. You've got Tay Conti. Tay Conti? I don't know. I liked her in NXT. She just didn't ever quite get there in NXT. But as soon as I started seeing her in AEW, and to be completely clear, I don't watch Dark. I only watch Dynamite and the pay-per-views because there are only so many hours in the week. But from seeing her on Dynamite, she's fantastic. Great to see a figure of her. We're getting Wardlow to round out the inner circle. The Pinnacle. Well, I guess we'll still be missing, which is weird, Shawn Spears. No Shawn Spears figure. That's kind of odd. Oh, and I haven't talked about FTR yet. Forget I said anything about the Pinnacle. Wardlow, technically, I guess, seconding the Pinnacle, because we've already got we've got 2 MJF figures. Or do we have 3? Because I think there's one in another wave, and then this one is another MJF. Whatever the case, we get MJF in his preposterous Burberry entrance robe that he wore. We get new Proud and Powerful Santana and Ortiz that look great. They're more updated, and the colors are different than the first figures, which, by the way, those first Santana and Ortiz figures are incredible. Those are at retail now. Like, those are hitting. And then, finally, the gimmick figure of this wave, which almost doesn't even make sense, but it's Sting. It's a modern Sting, so it's not like it's a legend or anything like that, but it's called Luminaries, which is, I guess, going to be a line within the line of, like, the biggest and best talent of all time. So I don't know what that means because the only one that we've seen thus far is Sting, but obviously I want an AEW Sting. I think that's great. So second wave of Unmatched is fantastic. And now we move on to Unrivaled 7, which is new figures of the Bucks. And I'm disappointed because I really want the Bucks with the money print on their gear. And that's not these. These are the purple and gold. And then FTR, Nyla Rose, which is a landmark figure, 100%. And Lance Archer. And these are all important figures. It's funny because this whole wave is new basically except for the Bucks, but the Bucks are always going to sell. They have so many different types of gear that look toyetic that I'm okay with them being in like every third wave or whatever they've been in so far. It's fine. FTR, that's tough for me because I'm not saying the Mattel Revival figures were all that great, but these don't look much better than those. I mean, first of all, you've got kick pads on a man who has never worn kick pads in his life, and you've got abs on a man who has never worn abs in his life. I'm really hoping the physiques on these figures don't just all end up being super heroic, because you've got some talent in AEW that, don't have these chiseled physiques, and I'd like to see that. Like, I want these figures to look like what they're representing. Like, when Eddie Kingston comes out, he better have that belly. Like, don't make that guy all cut. That's ridiculous, because it's part of his character. It's part of who he is. But this wave, hopefully FTR get a little more work before they come out. And then Unrivaled 8, which is another mega wave, because you got Best Friends and Chris Statlander. I love that Trent and Chuck are getting figures. They were ones I wanted from the start. They were two of the guys. Well, I was already a fan of Chuck Taylor from seeing him in Chikara years ago. As one of Phantom Jr.'s first wrestling shows he ever saw was Chikara here in Porterdale. And Chuck Taylor comes out looking like some kind of baseball guy, and I was like, what is this bullshit? But then he was great. So I've always liked him. Thrilled to be getting a figure of him. Trent's great. Chris Statlander hasn't really had the opportunity to do a whole lot lately, but just made her comeback. And from everything that I've seen, she's going to be impressive. And then we get new Orange Cassidy, which makes sense because he's another one of the top guys in the company. A new Moxley and a new Jericho. I mean, it makes sense. I get why they're doing this. Now, I don't know how you make an Orange Cassidy that looks different. I guess he's just going to have a different shirt on, maybe. I don't know what you do there. But it's fine because he's a guy you want to keep on the pegs. Moxley's had enough different looks. This is fine. As a matter of fact, I don't really care for... I liked the wave... I think it's wave 2 Moxley. But the one that's getting ready to come out, I think it's maybe in 6. It's hard to keep track because these things are starting to hit. Bam, bam, bam now. Whatever the most recent Moxley is that's technically not out yet, I don't love. Although I haven't seen it in person, so maybe it'll be great. And then Jericho, there are going to be as many Jerichos in this line as there are John Cena's in the WWE line, and that's fine. And then finally, oh no, wait, not finally. There is Unmatched Series 3, which is Dark Order themed, and I'm trying to find the pictures of it now because I don't want to sit here trying to remember off the top of my head who it was. It's not Colt Cabana, I can tell you that. It's Brody Lee, John Silver. Oh my gosh, why can't... Oh, here it is. Okay. Brody Lee, John Silver, Evil Uno, Anna Jay, Stu Grayson, and then a mystery figure that I don't think they've identified yet. But I love that it's a themed wave. I miss that. I miss that in toy lines because it used to be you would get waves like that, and it was cool. It compelled you to buy a whole wave. Like Marvel does it with Build-A-Figures, and they do themed waves from time to time, like the Age of Apocalypse stuff. But within wrestling, I like to see a theme, and this is cool. It's the Dark Order, and then whatever this other one is, they showed an LJN-style Darby, but I don't know if it's that figure or not. And it was just a render of the Darby. So, oh no, it says right here, announced for AEW Unmatched 3. So that's the gimmick figure in that wave. And then finally, the last thing, history making the Double or Nothing real scale ring. This is not the little plastic ring that you get at Walmart. This is the big fancy ring that you actually have to like build and put the apron and the ring mat on, or the canvas, and the turnbuckles, and it's all separate pieces. You have to put it together, and it's frustrating but fun because I've built a lot of these real scale rings over the years. I've not built an AEW one yet because the Kenny Omega, well, I've got the little plastic one and it's fine. And the Kenny Omega that came with the last one was not enough motivation for me to get it. But this one comes with referee, believe it or not, AEW's head referee, That's right. Aubrey Edwards. This is amazing for lots of reasons. First of all, it's the first ever female referee action figure. Second of all, it's only like... They don't even make referee action figures now, really. And they don't make it like... Because referees don't have the same deals as superstars. Ugh. See, I can't get that WWE out of my head. Referees don't have the same deals as wrestling talent. So they just don't bother making referee figures. So this is awesome. This is great. She deserves it. She's a critical part of AEW. She's one of their signatures, one of their trademarks. And to come with the ring, I think is very cool. So AEW, Jazwares, absolutely blew it out of the water on Saturday. What a huge weekend for them. What a great company. I love AEW. I have a blast watching Dynamite. I really do think it's the most entertaining wrestling on television right now. But we'll get to that in a minute as we sit down, of course, enjoy some delicious Elijah Craig, and have a great conversation with Arian all about what's going on in wrestling. All right, so we are live in the Phantom Zone. Joining me tonight, wrestling aficionado, professional grump, Mr. Arian Gulick.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Project. Get that voice out.
Hey guys, how's it going?
People want to hear the dulcet tones of Negative Nelson.
Do they?
They do. That's why they tuned in. You're the selling point of this episode.
Well,
so
I think the selling point of this episode is hearing some people bitch about the WWE.
Well, we're gonna start off positive and talk about some of the things that we love about wrestling. We're gonna talk about some of the things that we don't love, and while we're doing that, I'm gonna try and find the Bleacher Report app from the PlayStation Store. Because that's how you have to watch AEW Double or Nothing, which will be your first AEW pay-per-view, and really your first full AEW experience since the first episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, like I watched the debut episode when it came out, and it was fun. I've kept up with like various people and things. When the artist formerly known as the Revival first showed up, I checked out a bunch of their stuff.
FTR.
Yes. Then what else? I've kept up with Thunder Rosa. I've kept up with what's his Orange Cassidy. I'm
who is now accompanied to the ring by the Pixies.
Yes, that's why eventually I want Thunder Rosa to officially sign with AEW, because I'm convinced Tony Khan will get drunk one night and buy the rights to Thunderstruck for her, and who doesn't want that?
Now, is that just you talking, or is that something that she's actually used?
I would imagine she's probably used it, in...
Things are looking bad here. I'm not seeing any of the apps.
Well, that's no good.
We may have to watch this on the regular screen and not the projector. That is lame.
But, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's used it at some indie shows and stuff where in the spirit of Paul Heyman and the ECW, they don't worry so much about the rights to things.
Right.
So yeah, I was.
So I have recently, there we go, CNET, how to watch live. I've recently stopped watching Raw and SmackDown.
I have also recently
And
stopped watching Raw and SmackDown.
It's not because I hate WWE. It's because I'm
Currently,
not interested in what's happening on Raw and SmackDown because it's not interesting.
Yeah, I don't even want to like make an objective statement of this is bad, but it is. It's television that like currently just doesn't interest me outside of like anything to do with Roman Reigns' character arc, and there's occasional like bright spots. The recent debut of indie darling Rick Boogs is Shinsuke Nakamura's guitar playing valet.
Of course,
since he's now.
Now he was the air guitar guy in NXT. Right?
He was the air guitar guy in NXT, but apparently he also can like shred a little bit because he's playing guitar on the way to the ring. But
just to update the listeners, we cannot watch this on the projector using the PS4. We're going to have to switch to the TV and watch it. The Bleacher Report live app is only available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, iOS, and Android, which sounds like a lot of things and is, but the only thing that I can watch on the projector is the PS4.
Unfortunate. It's an unfortunate turn of events. We'll make do.
That's okay. At least I've got a more decent TV.
Yeah, we've got an out.
And I hope everybody appreciates the return of the chair squeak, which has not been heard on this podcast in over a year.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been
recording live outside of getting drunk and arguing about cartoons.
And I hope they also enjoyed that.
Yeah. That's showbiz, baby.
So, what frustrates me about Raw and SmackDown, and this is the exact same issue that had me stop watching WWE probably about 10 years ago. I quit watching for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was because I just got to the point where I couldn't get invested in anybody
like I probably
or anything.
Didn't watch between like 2007 and 2015 or so.
I can't remember exactly when it was because I watched Punk's whole run. And maybe it was shortly after he left. When did he leave? Was that like 2012?
He left like in 2014.
Was it that late?
It was that late.
Maybe it wasn't 10 years ago that I stopped. But whatever the case, I stopped for a couple of years because I couldn't get invested in any person or any angle because nothing felt like it meant anything. Nothing exciting ever happened. And I'm back to that point now where I feel like I could look at... I wouldn't even need to know if it was a match or not. If you gave me all 11 segments on SmackDown and the names involved, I feel like I could tell you exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm right.
Yeah. It's the problem is it's so formulaic. It's just like punch this in to do that. It's
and as much as I love, for instance, Big E.
Yeah.
And Apollo. Yeah. And that's the other thing is this is not about the talent.
No, the talent, like, I feel so bad for them.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
They're the best talent in the world is in WWE.
Yeah.
And they are hamstrung by the fact that WWE is a company that is presenting something that it doesn't call wrestling.
I usually just, talk off the cuff, but, I actually made a good bit of notes for this. And
I made a couple of notes. I made some bullet points.
One of them is 3 things every successful promotion needs. Compelling characters, interesting stories, and suspension, quote, in quotes, suspension of disbelief, which, I mean, they have, the most talented, or the greatest concentration of talent, up and down the roster. People, on their undercard that are being, not used or misutilized, you could, form a really great promotion around them. Their problem is, they don't know how to tell interesting stories. They don't know how to make those people into, like, characters that I want to care about. And, like, sometimes, like, the suspension of disbelief thing for me, that just means, like, can I forget for a second that this is all a work? And, mark out.
I wouldn't even go so far as... Now, suspension of belief is wonderful.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even go so far as to say that. I want to feel like the people in the ring are trying to make me believe they're fighting. Like, yes. I don't even need a total suspension of disbelief, although that does happen from time to time. But what I want is to look at it and go, man, nobody's standing there waiting for somebody to jump off the top rope on top of them.
And, some of the things that will help you get to that point are, well-told stories about characters you care about, and then they get in the ring and, try and, fake fight, beat the crap out of each other. And they're just not, like, developing interesting characters and telling interesting stories with them. And it's, like, for the longest time, like, I would watch on, like, Hulu has, like, the day after, they'll have Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, they chop it up into
SmackDown,
more easily digestible lengths.
Well, SmackDown is the whole thing. Raw,
okay.
they cut, like, a good 30 to 40 minutes off of. They get it down to 90 minutes.
But unfortunately, as we learned when you and I, when I was still watching and you weren't, they cut out the best parts of Raw. Usually the lower card guys who are working, like, Rick, you're going to miss Ricochet.
Yeah, well, like, and Rick, I think he's been on, like, the past week or two. I still read...
Well, he's been on Main Event. Apparently,
I still read recaps. Yeah, apparently, like, he and Ali are tearing it up on Main Event.
And they're awesome.
And again, like, we could fantasy book, like, a great friggin' promotion out of dudes that are being underutilized, not utilized at all, or completely misutilized. Like, it's sad. And the really sad thing to me is that on a whole, like certainly not, like, historical ratings, but, like, the company is more profitable than it's ever been. We know this because it's a publicly traded corporation. They just signed those two huge, ridiculous, like, $1 billion TV deals over 5 years.
For the worst streaming service ever.
Yes.
Which is, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is another part of my lapse in fandom.
Is having to go through Peacock.
I was in the midst of watching, because I was not a WWF guy in the mid-90s. I didn't see any of the New Generation stuff.
Yeah.
I was aware of it, and I watched... I say I didn't see any of it. I watched the WrestleManias, some of the big pay-per-views, but I never watched those Raws. And on the network, I had gone back to the beginning of 95 and was watching all of the Raws and all of the pay-per-views, and I was loving it. It's cheesy. It has an earned reputation for being silly.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun, and it's...
The pre-Attitude Era stuff?
Yeah. It's just really... And Raw was only like an hour for a long time.
Yeah. Like, it's
just fun to get through, and you're watching all of these, like, colorful characters. It's like... I told Mrs. Troublemaker at one point that this was like my Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Was sitting down and watching those. And now, that, like... The availability of that content and all of the old pay-per-views and everything else kept me sort of invested in WWE.
Yeah.
And now that's all gone.
Well, and talking about something that we, or at least I do enjoy, still is NXT. And I am current on NXT. I tend to, like, I'll read recaps, but, like, I'll wait until, like, there's, like, 3 or 4 episodes, and I'll, like, catch up on it over the course of, like, a day or two, is how I tend to consume it these days. But I am current on it. I like, I wanted to point out so there are now guys NXT used to have a higher churn rate. There are guys who've been in there kind of forever, but I appreciate that they find new ways to use them, like Johnny Gargano.
If you had told me a couple of years ago that he would be such an entertaining heel, I would be like, that guy doesn't have heel in him. He's like Sting. He's just a natural-born babyface.
And he was/is, but he's so good at his job that he's made me actually care about what Austin Theory's doing. And Austin Theory's hilarious.
Real quick for the people watching at home, no-look high five.
Yeah.
The no-look high five is the greatest move in wrestling right now.
And just an example of something little that is hilarious that wrestling fans appreciate is being kind of self-referential and having a sense of humor about it. Because wrestling on its face, let's be fair, it's kind of absurd.
Oh, it's preposterous.
Yeah, but
if you ever stop in the middle of a match and look at the fact that two men in panties are pretending to fight each other, it's you can't think about that. So one of the Johnny Gargano is cutting a promo about the absurdity of him having to defend his North American championship, and Austin Theory has entered his running buddy in the way has entered himself into a gauntlet match to qualify, and he says Johnny Gargano is confused. He's like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "We'll just finger poke a doom. It'll be great." He's like, "What are you talking about? It'll kill the business." And then Austin Theory is like, "But it didn't. We're still here." And Johnny Gargano's like, "You're right." And that's where I think, because we don't really know the extent to which NXT really is Triple H's baby, but it is to a great degree.
Yeah,
that's undeniable.
I feel
and that kind of humor, that's that. Before it was all fart jokes, DX did a lot of meta stuff like that before anybody was doing it.
Yeah, and NXT is basically Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Road Dogg's playground.
Yes.
And it's very, it's pretty obvious. And you know what? I love the crap out of it. It's great. Even, yes, there are, it's not what it used to be, and, that it isn't, churning over as fast, so you don't get, But
I don't want it to, because I don't want guys like Ciampa and Gargano and imagine grizzled young veterans on the main roster.
That would be so terrible.
It would be the worst! Yeah. Imagine, what's their name? Wild and,
Legado del Fantasma.
Yes, imagine those guys on the main roster. They'd be Lucha House Party.
Yeah, they'd be...
I don't want anybody in NXT to go to the main roster.
I mean, maybe if, somehow the main roster suddenly becomes halfway tolerable again.
Oh, well, yeah, sure.
I think, some of them, I think Karrion Kross would actually do well on the main roster.
Well, let me take you back a few years to a gentleman named... what was it? Alexandre Rusev? What was his first name when he still had one?
Yeah.
And his gorgeous blonde valet, he's not even with the company anymore, and she's still featured on the show every single week, no matter how much she stinks the joint up.
Yeah.
So this is the future I see for Karrion Kross as well. And if you go back, there are other. Think about Mark Marrow. An incredibly talented guy.
I see the parallels, but I also there's a different level of presentation with what they're going for with Kross.
I agree with you in NXT.
Yeah.
But I don't think Karrion Kross has as much to offer, as much unique to offer as Rusev or Mark Marrow. I like him. And now that he's got the belt, and now that he's just killing people, those matches with Balor are incredible. I like Karrion Kross. But I think if you line him up with those two guys, I don't feel like he's got as much upside to stand out.
I feel like
on
he's
the main
got more
roster.
upside than Miro, but like probably not as much as Rusev. But Rusev is like, he's so friggin' charismatic.
Well, he's a freak of nature because
Yeah.
he's got it all.
He's handsome Miro.
Yes, he is. He is, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know.
So we both love NXT. I watch it every single week. I keep up with it.
Yeah.
I think that NXT is the best wrestling show on television right now. Because from beginning to end, it's good. It keeps me engaged. The matches are going to be good. The segments are going to be good. The characters every week are going to... You know who they are, but there's going to be a little bit of growth. There's going to be a little bit of something, new interaction. Yeah. There's going to be a little hook every week.
And they like this... A good example is Cameron Grimes' current Odyssey. Like he went from like they do kind of like keep up with the times a little bit, and like, you know, so they made.
Are you telling me they're aware of things that happened more recently than 10 years ago?
Yeah. So they made him a Dogecoin investor or whatever.
I think they literally said GameStop, didn't they?
Yeah, like GameStop, but then like he's like name dropped AMC and Dogecoin and all sorts of other stuff. But if ultimately this angle that he's doing with DiBiase doesn't result in him creing like a Dogecoin like $1 million title with like a big stupid...
Oh
like,
my gosh, that needs to happen. Oh, I love this idea.
Well, mainly because you want to buy that.
Yeah, well, I want a toy of it. I don't want... I will not... I can't do replica belts there. Yeah. That's insanity. And they don't make toy belts anymore because Toys R Us is dead.
Yes.
But yeah, the NXT is just... Zoe Stark comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they don't, like, give her a couple of wins and then cool her off for a year. They're using her, and she doesn't win every match.
Yeah, and that's another... So, I don't think... Like, the women's tag belts in NXT have only been around for, like, what? Like, 3-4 months?
Yeah, something. Maybe since the beginning of the year, but...
And there's also been, like... It was on the build-up to WrestleMania. It wasn't quite at the beginning of the year. So, like, maybe 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
But, like, they've already changed hands. Like, we're already on, like, our third title holders, because it was Raquel and Dakota, and then they immediately lost the belts to Shotzi and Ember. And then the Way just won it. Indy and Candice. And, like, all of those title changes have happened on the weekly show.
Yes.
None of them have happened on pay-per-views. And I like that. Like, you will occasionally get a title change happening on live WWE main roster TV, but they make it so obvious that it's going to happen that you know. Like, I think the Mysterios beat like Rude and Dolph on like a broadcast SmackDown. But like it wasn't on a pay-per-view.
Well,
but, like,
it was infuriating.
They made it so obvious that it was going to happen that like you just knew. Well, so it took any mystery or like, suspense out of it.
I mean, they were building up to that, and it would have been a great WrestleMania moment. Even because when you do something at WrestleMania, even if you're telegraphing it, it's still WrestleMania. Yeah. So it's like father-son tag champs at WrestleMania.
And like I want to like make a point here. They're still good at, like, doing that. They make big moments happen.
Yes.
And they do feel big, and, like, you know, it's still a big thing. Like, Bianca Belair winning on night 1 of WrestleMania was a big friggin' moment.
It was fantastic.
And it was well done. Like, you know, the match was friggin' incredible, as you would expect. Like, Sasha is, like, sneakily... my favorite of the 4 horsewomen in the ring.
She has mastered her craft.
Yeah, like, she had, like, my favorite match anybody had with Rousey, and, like, she just has consistently incredible matches.
I would pick well, okay, so out of the non-fighting or non-MMA horsewomen, Bayley is actually my pick.
Yeah.
But I say that because Bayley is my pick for the single best performer in WWE right now.
Well, yeah, no, she, like, since she finally turned heel, like, she's been an incredible asset. She kept me watching, like, you know, for a good part of last year, just to see what she was going to do and say.
Well, her and Sasha having the tag titles were them, Asuka, Michael Cole, and Zelina Vega with her stable.
Yeah.
Kept the promotion going through the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I want to so NXT real quick. We talked about Zoe Stark a little bit. She's a phenomenon. I think she's great. We talked about The Way. Real quick, I want to throw out Everrise.
Those guys are trying really hard.
Oh, I think they're great.
I enjoy them. Like, I see what they're getting at, but, like, they need to start winning more in order for me to give a shit.
Well, I don't know that they do, though, because right now it's almost like it's their gimmick that they're these cocky guys,
like,
but they just don't win. Yeah. Like, it's and they'll get there, because as we've seen so many times in the past, NXT knows what they're doing. And right now, they have too many great tag teams.
Yeah.
So these guys, their thing isn't being a great tag team.
If I'm a tag team in NXT, I absolutely do not ever want to go to the main roster. Like, that's it. We have to talk about that. Like, the tag scenes in both, like, Raw and SmackDown are the worst. And, like, we don't know. Like, we can sit here and speculate, and, like, there are rumors and blah, 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 but, like, if you look at the way tag team wrestling has been booked consistently over the past 10 to 15 years in WWE, like, it's pretty obvious that somebody pretty high up in the power structure doesn't view it as an important part of the programming.
Well, it's almost insanity, because you get they will have actual pre-existing tag teams that come in, and they will split them up. But then they will put two random people together and make them champions for a year.
Yeah,
rather than actually pushing tag teams.
Yeah,
it boggles my mind.
Yeah, and that's the, like, why should I believe that, like, okay, you have this part of your show is, like, tag team wrestling. It's, you know, it's two people who take the time and effort to learn how to, like, be a team. They're supposed to have an advantage when they're, you know, they've put all that time and effort into it, and then you just have two randos show up and
every time. And sometimes the two randos are the ones feuding over the main belt, and they're using the tag team titles as enhancement for the main championship, which disgusts me, because, you know, tag teams can be main events.
They've been doing that going back to, like, what, the two-man power trip?
Oh, yeah, they've been doing that forever, and I hate it every single time.
Yeah.
I hate that almost as much as I hate handicap matches.
Yeah.
All right, well, we gotta move on.
Yes.
Because what we're doing is going to be a two-part thing here. Now, it's going to be one episode.
Yes.
But we're going to take a break in a few minutes and watch AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. And then afterwards, we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about what happened on this pay-per-view, how incredible Eddie Kingston is, among other things. But before we take our break here, which for us will be 3+ hours, for you listeners, it'll be a little zoop noise, and then we'll come right back. I want to talk a little bit about Impact.
Yeah. I have not been keeping up with Impact.
Which is fair, because it's very difficult to watch.
Before we do get to Impact, I just want to give a shout-out, though. Like, obviously, so many terrible things have happened over the past year, and it's kind of silly to, like have a sad over, like, what the pandemic did to a wrestling company. But NWA Power, like, going
Yeah.
into the pandemic, like, if you look at, like, the people who are different places now, like, you've got Eddie Kingston, you've got Ricky Starks, you've got Thunder Rosa, who's still kind of around, but also not really. James Storm's back in Impact. Like, list goes on. People that, like, LA Knight / Eli Drake. Yeah, and NXT.
Yeah.
Who may be the next $1 million man? It's looking like now.
Yeah, it's seeming that way.
But
it's okay.
Or at least $1 million champion.
Let me talk to you.
Yeah, but like, they had such a good and interesting roster, and like a feeling of momentum going on, and it just kind of all got.
They were set to catch fire.
Yeah, it kind of just died, and it stinks. And like, they're still trying, and
it could still be something, but it will never
quite be what it was
about to be, because some of their top talent is just gone now, and good for them.
And understandably so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, those people were busting ass and doing things, and it's good to see. Like, I just love seeing, like, people succeed in this business. Like, I joke often that, like, my favorites tend to not succeed. So, like, I feel nervous when, like, people that I enjoy watching have good things happen to them. Like, oh no, what's about to happen?
Right, when is the rug going to get pulled out from under them? And let's not forget...
R.I.P. Keith Lee.
Let's not forget...
I still love you.
Zicky Dice.
Oh, yes.
The
outlandish.
The greatest free agent out there.
Yeah, someone needs to sign him that's not WWE.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about Impact, because I have since, it's been a few months now. Since Brian Myers, a few weeks after he started, I started sort of tuning back in. They were still doing the real world type segment was that got them through the pandemic. And I didn't love that stuff, and it took me, because you and I, we've been down with TNA since day one-ish.
Yeah? No?
We were watching the Wednesday night pay-per-views back in 2002. I think we started with the third Wednesday night pay-per-view.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the first, but it was close to the first.
Pretty close in there.
And like, I distinctly remember Ron the Truth Killings being champion and hating Jeff Jarrett. But I mean, it's kind of like a birthright. If you're from the South, you're supposed to hate a Jarrett.
What's interesting is I went back and rewatched, because I've got Impact Plus, which I think is a well worth it app. Because the funny thing is, Impact has now been around almost twice as long as WCW.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
What's crazy? What's extra crazy is the last wrestling promotion to have, like, really great ratings other than WWE is still friggin' Impact. Like, they were getting in the low to mid 2s with, like, and I mean, like, we can mock it all we want and make fun of it because it was terrible creatively, but, like, the Aces and Eights era of Impact did do ratings.
And I will say, while we were down since day one-ish, we did take some time off from time to time.
Yeah.
I have not been a consistent watcher of TNA/Impact, but I love the company. I'll always have a soft spot for them, and I'll always go back and give them a chance from time to time. And I have done that over the past few months, and it is...
Well, they brought back the Motor City Machine Guns.
Well, that was huge as well. Well, briefly. Yeah. Now, I don't know what's going on with Alex Shelley right now.
I think he's injured.
Saban has been teaming up with Storm. But Impact is very, very special in that everybody there is so full of passion and so hungry. You have either young guys like MSK, who I was watching as the Rascals, like, right before they came to NXT. So I got just enough of them to be super stoked when they showed up in NXT. And then
they've
Trey
been
Miguel,
great.
Trey Miguel, who stayed in Impact, these young guys who are, you just see it in their eyes, that fire. But then you've got guys like Eddie Edwards, who just, and Tommy Dreamer, who just love Impact. And there's so many different acts there. Johnny Swinger doing Swingers Casino every week is hilarious. And then you've got genuine incredible talent like Jordan Grace or Fire and Flava.
Their women's division, like, historically has been
the Knockouts division,
one of their strengths.
Yes,
like Gail Kim, like, is deservedly, I think, the founding, like, Women's Hall of Famer for their division, and
one of the most under-recognized talents,
for sure.
think. But I've just, every week I'm watching Impact, and I'm hooked. The guys like Willie Mack, and just, I could just sit here and name names, which is doing nobody any good.
Yeah.
But the show is paced really well. Don Callis and Scott D'Amore run Impact, and they have two of the best minds in wrestling. These guys know how to put on a show. They know how to make exciting, engaging product. And that's what they're doing. And Impact, it's not, when you watch it, it does not, it's not on AEW or WWE's level.
Sure.
But entertainment-wise, it is a blast to watch. It has not received quite the same benefit from the crossover as AEW has, if you want to call the fair to middling brothers a benefit. I'm sorry, that was rude. I love the Good Brothers, but I don't see them as big of an asset as they tend to be treated.
They're kind of creatively in a rut. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I wish. So here's the thing: right now their thing is like being so into the gimmick that they are a gimmick, and there's something there. If they lean even harder into their ridiculousness, because that's the thing, is they're silly, but they're presented as badasses. And it doesn't mesh for me when you've got guys like Finjuice who are legitimately like awesome competitors, and then they get in the ring with Gallows, who is, if he wanted to hammer down and be a big giant badass, he could be, but he's a goofball right now.
Like he's presenting himself as a goofball.
Right.
And like there are some people who like Matt Riddle, like in backstage segments and stuff, like he can be a goofball.
He turns it on.
But like you can see him like there's usually some point during a match where he gets mad.
Well, it's almost like Shamrock used to do.
Yeah. Like,
which, granted, Shamrock was kind of a dick all the time, but there was that point in the match where he'd, like, Shamrock up.
Yeah.
And Riddle kind of does a similar thing.
Riddle, like, just gets a crazy look in his eye and, like, starts beating the crap out of people.
And positively pouring liquid sweat out of his body. It's almost like he turns on his sweat glands at one point.
He and Johnny Drip Drip cannot be in matches together anymore.
No! They just slide right out of the ring.
# too moist.
All right, so I think we've covered what we love. I think we've talked a good bit about the problems that we see. Really just with... And look, I don't want to act like AEW is perfect. It's not. There are a lot of... Well, not a lot. There are things that AEW does that I don't care for.
Yeah.
They've done two massively preposterous things recently with the fireworks display and with Jericho getting thrown into the giant pillow, which apparently he legitimately hurt himself doing, which makes it even worse. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have done the spot. I'm saying they should have handled it differently. Same thing with the fireworks.
Well, like, they should have figured out how to present it better.
Right. They needed the right angle on it. It still would have worked. Because, look, nobody believes MJF is going to murder Chris Jericho live on television.
Yeah.
So there was a way to do that without it looking so dumb. Same thing with the barbed wire death match. Like,
well, and and we'll see, like, if I change my mind tonight. But like, two of the things that like different people enjoy different things out of wrestling. And I'm not going to sit here...
Which is one of the things that's magical about it.
Yeah, and like, I'm not going to sit here and cornet anybody and tell them, like, you can only enjoy it in this certain way. But, like, two things that AEW does that I think they do a good bit of that just don't work for me are like the Ring of Honor finish spam, kick out of everything. Like
it's not as
the young buckification, if you will.
That does happen,
Daddy.
but it's mostly in like the trios matches and stuff.
And
I'm not wild
NXT is like tremendously guilty of that.
Yes,
in like some aspects too. Like especially like I love the characters of Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa, but like those three guys' matches that they've had, like. It's just preposterous, and like it takes.
Well, when the last 15 minutes is all moves that should finish the match.
Yeah, like that's.
And real quick, I'd just like to mention that Serena Deeb is so good that she's actually getting a good match out of Rio.
Yes, Serena Deeb is great. I don't know why they let her go.
Because she's not aesthetically WWE, and never was.
I mean, she looks great. I don't know, like what's
right,
the deal?
but at the time she was let go, her look was not what WWE was pushing.
Yeah, I just don't care. It's whatever.
What is the other?
The other thing is like, so like, look, I love Jon Moxley. He's put on like really entertaining matches. It's become apparent to me since he left that maybe. In WWE, people should have been telling him no and not letting him have his way, because I don't appreciate the continual need to like drop people on their heads into like glass tables.
That hasn't
thumbtacks
been
insanity.
He still does the crazy sort of deathmatch style stuff,
right.
But it has not looked as horrifying as that initial attack on Kenny Omega.
Right.
I hated that. That was too much.
Like
there hasn't been anything that horrible since I've been watching regularly.
Okay, fair. But like. Yeah, like I just like I know people are like taking risks. I would like to like feel good that people aren't like legitimately
right
taking years off their life in ways that like they could be smarter about for my enjoyment.
Here's the next stipulation match I would like to see. Like forget Hell in a Cell, forget Money in the Bank.
I'm actually expecting to fully hate the Young Bucks, Eddie and.
Okay, well, I
hated Moxley match.
I hated the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
But now that they're heels, their over-the-top ridiculous bullshit is perfect. So now I'm like into those dudes. Like their shtick works for bad guys. But what I wanted to say, forget Hell in a Cell, forget Money in the Bank, forget Inferno match. I want a you can't leave the ring match. No diving through the ropes. No jumping over the top rope. You have to stay in the ropes for the entire match. Nobody currently wrestling today could win that match. There'd be disqualifications within 5 minutes of every single wrestler working today. All right, so
Braun Strowman would immediately get disqualified by running around the ring.
He'd do his little choo-choo train gimmick, and that'd be the end of it. All right, so we are now going to take our break. I feel like we've kind of laid down where we're at, how we feel about the product now. And my one last word about AEW. They do things I don't like. But it is my favorite, Dynamite is my favorite show, wrestling show on television. Even though I think NXT is the best wrestling show, Dynamite entertains me from beginning to end every time. I don't know what to expect. I don't know who's going to do what. It's not all good, but it's all fun. And that
goes a long way.
Yes. Even though NXT from beginning to end is overall higher quality, it's not as that. Well, it's like the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah.
With Nitro, you were like, oh, this is going to be cool. We're going to enjoy this. It's going to be cool stuff. But with Raw, you never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
They offered different flavors of the same thing, and that's how I feel about NXT and AEW and Impact. I just, those three shows, those three brands to me are where it's at right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to sit back, relax. I'm going to enjoy some Elijah Craig, my signature beverage, and take in Double or Nothing, or I guess take in the rest because we're on the pre-show now with Serena Deeb versus Riho. And afterwards, we're going to talk to Mr. Arian Gulick about his current impressions of AEW.
Fair.
All right, and we are back. We have now experienced AEW Double or Nothing. And after it was over, we each went and took a comfort break. And I was shocked when I looked at the clock. And it's 11:56.
Yeah, it's midnight.
That was almost 4 hours.
Yeah.
And it didn't... Well, I'm not going to say it didn't feel like 4 hours, but it flew by.
Yeah, it didn't... They smartly didn't... The between-match interstitial stuff didn't bog down. It was very quick. They're like... hype videos for things were like 1 or 2 minutes and not like 5 minutes.
Right.
So you didn't really have time to like get amped down from what had just happened.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like this massive delay between matches where you're just kind of waiting like, well, all right, now they're talking to people backstage that don't have anything to do with anything. Now they're like, it moved along.
Yeah.
So we're going to quickly, because it is midnight, we're going to go match by match, but just overall, going into this tonight, what was your expectation versus how you feel about it right now?
I thought I would be, like, I definitely knew I was going to enjoy it, but I thought there would have been, like, I was especially looking at the tag match for the titles and also the Cody versus Go-Go match. And, like, I thought the Sting and Darby Allin tag match versus Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page would be entertaining, but I didn't think it would be that great because, let's be honest, Sting's not a spry chicken anymore.
He's 62 years old.
But I actually enjoyed all of those matches just fine. They're like the only like outcomes that didn't. There were 3 outcomes. Well, 2 that I thought were going to definitely go the other way, and 1 that I thought could have gone the other way. I thought Moxley and Eddie could have won the titles. I guess not. Whatever. I definitely thought a Go-Go was going over Cody. I don't think it really matters, but at the same time, like, if Cody loses that, like, he doesn't lose stature. Like,
right, he's still Cody.
I feel like you might as well put the dude over. And I thought Pinnacle was going to win the Stadium Stampede, and they did not.
But enjoyment-wise going in, you were kind of like, this is probably going to be fun, but, we'll see.
Well, like, now... I figured I was going to enjoy, like, roughly 2/3 of the matches, but they all either like met my expectations or over delivered. Even the Sheeta Britt Baker match, I expected to be entertaining, but Sheeta is not my favorite wrestler, and I didn't expect anything great out of that. But they did the last 5 minutes of that match was like a friggin' banger. That was really good. They did a bunch of great false finishes, and it didn't, she never actually locked the lockjaw in until the end. Yeah, they teased that a good bit. They did a good job of building to that moment, and then that was the only title change on the evening. I fully expected to be entertained by a Miro murder, death, killing Lance Archer, and that's what happened. So there you go.
So just to run through the matches, pre-show we had Serena Deeb versus Riho for the NWA World Women's Championship, which we talked about a little bit in the first segment of the show. Serena Deeb is tremendous. She's a veteran. She knows how to work. And Riho, not one of my favorites. But
Serena got a good match out of her.
Absolutely. And retained.
Yep.
As she should. And then up next, to open the show proper, we get one of the matches that I was most looking forward to tonight, because Hangman Adam Page is... he was... When I started watching AEW, he was the guy that I was like, oh, that's my guy. Yeah. I love that guy. I like everything about him. He's great.
He's got a great character.
Yes. Now... I will admit that at this point, Darby's my guy, but Hangman is still like in my top tier of AEW guys. But Brian Cage, who I knew from Lucha Underground, I was already a big fan of. So Page versus Cage, I was like, man, this match is going to be sick. And it was.
It was good, and they did a good job of advancing the Team Taz disintegration storyline that they've been teasing.
Which AEW, that's one of the things they're great at, is this, I don't want to say long-term storytelling, because typically it's a couple of months.
Medium term.
But in the modern
consistent.
In the modern age, 2 months is long term.
Right.
So they have been telling this story of Brian Cage kind of being the honorable dude, and not wanting this heel-like interference from his teammates, and that culminated tonight in Ricky Starks and Hook coming out to help Brian Cage, and him not wanting their help, and losing the match as a result. So Page goes over, gets to look strong, but then Brian Cage looks strong because he was about to win the match, but his stupid teammates screwed it up, and now he's got that story, and Page gets to move on to whatever he's going to move on to.
Yeah.
And this is what AEW excels at, is keeping everybody interesting and involved in some kind of story. Next up, much to my surprise, because I thought it would be later in the show, we get the Bucks versus Moxley and Kingston for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Eddie Kingston's one of my favorite guys working today. I think he's the most believable person in the business. He legitimately scares me with his promos.
He's the best promo in the business.
And Moxley is getting to be himself. I don't necessarily love everything that he does, but I love the fact that everything he does is what he wants to do.
Right.
And then the Bucks, who, as I mentioned in the first segment, have won me over. Because God gave them the gift of being douchebags. That is their talent. That's what they were meant to do. And as long as
now they're doing it.
Yes, as long as they're being douchebags, they're great. And this match, man, it was classic shine, heat, comeback. Because Moxley and Kingston got the offense in the beginning, then the Bucks took the advantage, and then Moxley and Kingston got the comeback. But in the end, the Bucks, they're brothers, they're the tag team, they're the guys who've been working together forever, and even though Mox and Kingston share that bond, share that deathmatch blood, that history that they've got, you can't overcome the brothers who've been a tag team forever. Yeah. And that was the story, and it was good.
Yeah.
And that's really all you can say, is that was just a great tag team match, and the Bucks are just such good douchebags. When they get their comeuppance, it's so rewarding. And whoever does take the titles off of them, the response is going to be so huge.
Looking at the roster, your face tag teams are you got
Best Friends.
You got Best Friends and Lucha Express. Or Jurassic
Express. Lucha Bros go kind of back and forth.
They'd be a believable friggin' team.
For sure.
Maybe now, with the Inner Circle kind of being faces, Santana and Ortiz.
Yeah, I would really like to see Proud and Powerful back on top. I think it's high time that they really get back into the tag division.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Sammy do his own thing.
That's kind of why I was expecting them to split up the Inner Circle. I thought, you could give Jericho some time off. You could have Sammy do his own thing, and you could have Proud and Powerful go do tag stuff. And I mean,
have Hager do whatever. Make slacks.
Whatever he does.
Hager slacks.
But I mean, you can still do all of that and keep the Inner Circle together. So I guess that's why they decided to do.
Well, and that could even be the story: is that what, we won, we've proven we're the top. Yeah. Now it's time to go after titles,
right?
So next up, we have the Casino Battle Royal, which is built to just be a fun match. Everybody's involved. I was very disappointed that John Silver was not in it. I think that was unacceptable. But lots of people beat up Matt Hardy, which was very acceptable.
Yes.
Because Big Money Matt Hardy, definitely my favorite post-WWE incarnation of Matt Hardy.
Yes.
He's such a good heel. And shockingly came down to Christian Cage, Matt Hardy, and Jungle Boy into the match. Probably not the trio I would have called. I thought Christian Cage would make it to the end.
And it did, in fact, come down to Christian Cage and Jungle Boy.
And Christian Cage, because he does not actually have an ass, was not able to overcome
very
the
Hank
youth.
Hank Hill-esque.
Yes, Christian Cage has been selling propane in the intervening years, but was not able to overcome the youthful vigor of Jungle Boy Jack Perry. And what a feel-good win this was.
It's true.
Daly's Place, going bananas, singing Tarzan Boy.
They love them some Jungle Boy.
They do, and you should, because for the listeners, I was telling Arian this as we were watching the pay-per-view. The first time I was watching AEW, when I saw Jungle Boy, I was like, look at this little bitch. Like, he's in this business because he's Luke Perry's son. He's pretty, whatever. And then, like, within 5 minutes of seeing him wrestle, I was like, holy shit, this guy's really good.
Yeah.
And now he's one of my favorite guys. He's one, if I had to make a top 10 list of top 10 reasons I watch wrestling, like, right now, he would be on it.
Fair.
He's great. He's energizing. He's exciting. You like seeing him win. He's a classic babyface, and he went over. And now, 2 weeks from now, he is going to be in a world title match against Kenny Omega.
He's going
now,
to get murdered by Kenny Omega.
Yeah, right. I don't expect him to win, but man, the heat on that match, the live audience watching Jungle Boy go up against douchebag Kenny Omega
with Don Callis,
going to be hot as shit.
Yes.
I fully expect Marco Stunt to... Okay, we're going to get Don Callis completely skeeved out by Marco Stunt.
As he should be, honestly.
And hopefully, Luchasaurus at some point will physically pick Don Callis up and carry him out of Daly's Place.
I mean, that would be acceptable.
I would enjoy that. So that was a fun match, lots of people involved, and very satisfying, kind of against the grain win. Jungle Boy would absolutely, I wouldn't have been in my top 5 picks.
That's another one that, I expected Christian to win, or, possibly Mystery Entrant, and Mystery Entrant.
Yeah, Mystery Entrant.
Leo Rush, which was cool. I expected it to be Andrade.
I did as well.
It was Leo Rush, and that was cool to see Leo Rush.
Yeah, he has more than earned his way back into mainstream wrestling.
Yeah.
Very talented guy. Got a lot going on, and not winning this did not hurt him because he got the magic of being like AEW considered him important enough to be the mystery entrant. Like
he was one of the two big surprises on the night. We'll get to the other one.
And that's one of the things that AEW is so good at, is creating equity. They understand how to book things. If you don't have a belt involved, then they know how to make the talent big. if they don't have built up equity, they know how to use an event to give someone equity. And that's Lio Rush, bringing him in as that mystery guest, showed the audience this is important. Like, it was very smart. Very well done.
Yeah.
Next up, we had Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo, which was probably my least interest match of the night.
Yeah.
This QT Marshall business, I am not completely disinterested, but I would say I have minimal investment in QT
Fair.
Marshall. But Cody is involved, and Cody, through sheer force of will, has turned himself into a draw and a main event superstar.
Yeah.
Where he does not need a championship for what he's doing to be important. He has that charisma, he has that magnetism to where he, in and of himself...
He has that ridiculous ring gear.
Yes, that incredible, like, soldier, babes in Toyland ring gear, or whatever it was. But Cody is a draw without a championship.
It's true.
So, even though he went over and Ogogo did not win this match, the fact that Ogogo had the showing that he did, because I wasn't expecting anything out of this guy. What I've seen so far out of him led me to believe that this match was either going to be him getting a cheap shot on Cody and winning in like 5 minutes or less, or some kind of shenanigans.
Chicanery afoot.
But he had a competitive match with Cody that was believable. It didn't make Cody look like a schmuck. Ogogo has proven...
He acquitted himself well.
Yes, exactly. So, while it wasn't my favorite match on the card, it was very well done, and it was far more entertaining and engaging than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
And with Cody winning, then perhaps he moves on to deal directly with Marshall, even though he's kind of already had that
They said,
match.
I think one of the matches they announced for this week's Dynamite was a tag match between Cody and somebody and Go-Go and QT.
Okay, well, there you go. So this story continues.
Yes.
Next up, we had Slobberknocker number 2.
Yes.
Miro defending his TNT championship against Lance Archer. We knew this was just going to be two big, sweaty men slapping meat.
It's true.
And it was.
It was intensely satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a problem. Miro is like the crowd came around, but it took like having 68 whatever year old decrepit Jake Roberts come out to get beat up by Miro.
Well, and Miro tossing his snake. Right.
Away.
The crowd doesn't want to boo Miro.
No, the crowd absolutely does not want to boo Miro.
They don't want to boo handsome Miro.
Well, handsome murderous Miro. But
yes. So they do. AEW does have a little bit of an adjustment to make there, in that we all love Miro. We want that post WWE success story that he's living. So what they need is to set up an adversary, a heel challenger, because we like that guy.
I mean, or they just have him beat the crap out of people we like.
But he beat the crap out of Darby, and that didn't make everybody hate him.
Yeah, but
who is such a
Orange
sweet
Cassidy?
I don't know, even Orange.
I feel like he could destroy their entire stable. What if he power bombs Chris Statlander through a table?
Well, that wouldn't be very nice.
No. That would maybe get heat on him.
But is it that important for Miro to be a heel to go against the wishes of the audience? Or would we rather have babyface Miro skyrocketing to the top to perhaps face Kenny Omega?
I mean, that would be cool.
And that's one of the things AEW does. They're willing to course correct.
Sure. But I think the only thing I would caution them, and they're probably smart enough to figure this out, is if you're going to have babyface Miro, you don't need to make him go back to happy, dopey best man.
No. He needs to stay weird. Jesus Christ gave me the power to inflict violence upon my enemies, yes. Miro.
Yeah.
Because that's what people like. So Miro retains, defeated Lance Archer by knockout. Moving on, we get Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, basically a coronation match.
It's true.
Against Shida. Hikaru Shida, not my favorite. I don't find her convincing. I don't... It's bizarre to me because she seems to be like a
When I was watching
rookie.
her, like... She has the same problem Peyton Royce had in solo matches for me. Is that she bumps well, but her offense does not look believable.
She looks to me like a play actor. She does not look like she's fighting.
She doesn't, like, her offense doesn't look believable to me. Like, it doesn't look like, with Peyton specifically, it looks like she's trying not to hurt somebody.
Yes.
And with Shida, it's not quite that, but it's still similar in that her offense does not look believable to me. For the most part. There were a few things she did pretty well.
And the last portion of the match
last 5 minutes
was
of the
very
match
good.
Was a banger.
And I will say this, there have been times where Shida has done very well. She had a match against Nyla Rose that I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
And she ended the match by, like, kneeing Nyla in the face like 50 times or something like that.
Yeah.
Which was, to me, reminiscent of one of my favorite match endings of all time, where low-key kicked Samoa Joe in the face like 50 times and then just pinned him. Like, no finishing move, no nothing. He just kicked the fuck out of him and then pinned him.
Yes.
Like, I loved that, and that reminded me of that. So Shida, I think she has the potential to be very good, but even though she's a veteran of, I think she's been wrestling for a decade now, for me personally, she just hasn't locked in yet.
Yeah. They're, like, for whatever reason, their Joshi stars, like, have not translated well for me either. Like, I don't know what it is, but yeah.
But Britt Baker 100% deserved to get that championship.
It's true.
Deserves to be the face of not only the women's division, but one of the faces of the company.
Yes. They just need to, like, make sure they don't try and turn her face again.
Right. She needs to continue being exactly who she is.
Yes.
And fantastic. Great ending to that match. Well done. And next up, we get another match that I was very much anticipating, but had no idea how it was going to go. Sting and, as I said, my boy Darby Allin, my guy, my AEW favorite, versus Scorpio Sky, who's one of the best wrestlers on the planet, and Ethan Page,
who's a dick.
Is a complete dick. And I just got lucky enough. I started watching Impact just in time to be able to enjoy the Rascals and
the North.
Page and the North. So when MSK showed up in NXT, I had just enough knowledge of them to pop really big when they showed up. And same thing for Ethan Page in AEW. I had just enough knowledge to be like, oh, awesome, he's here now.
Yeah.
This match, exactly what it needed to be. Scorpio and Page were just dicks throughout, taking the advantage wherever they could. But in the end,
we need to make one... was it? I think it was Ethan Page. Yeah, he there was one great spot where he like lawn Darby Allin
into the crowd, Spike Dudley style.
Yeah, like almost hit the second row.
Yes,
like it was obviously planned because Darby's like family was
right,
and he threw him into Darby's family.
But it was still very
it was really
impressive.
Cool. My only quibble with this match, and like in retrospect, I get it. Like, it's Sting's first, like, live match back. Like, the last one was a cinematic match or whatever. But like, in the moment, I thought Darby should have got the pin, but in retrospect, like, I see why you give Sting the pin.
Oh, for sure. It's his first match back in front of a live crowd. He's Sting. He deserves it. Sure. And Darby, look, right now, Darby's Teflon. He can do... Now, he couldn't take a ton of losses in a row, or I wouldn't want to see that anyway. But he's one of their top guys. He's unique. His entrance music, which I realize this is kind of silly to say, but his entrance music is probably one of the coolest entrance themes in all of wrestling right now. It's different. You know exactly what it is as soon as it comes on, and it represents his character to a T.
Yes, it's very well suited.
So he didn't need to get the pin here. Sting did, even if he never wrestles again. Sting getting this pin was very important. And Sky and Paige get to go on to still be douchebags. And here's the important thing, is where's the shame in getting pinned by Sting?
Right.
Sting! One of the greatest legends in wrestling history. That's barely even a loss.
Sure.
That's well, what are you going to do? It's Sting. Yeah, I got beat by Sting.
Yeah. So they don't really lose anything.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it was a great match. It was awesome, hard hitting, just right out of the gate. All four of those guys did exactly what they needed to do.
Darby Allin bumps like a madman.
He's awesome.
I appreciate anyone who bumps very well.
Next up, we have what I had thought would be the main event to the show, but now I understand why it was not. Kenny Omega defending his AEW World Championship against Orange Cassidy and Pac.
And the reason why it was not was because Kenny was obviously going to go over.
Right.
It's not time. Like,
it probably will never be Orange Cassidy's time.
Right. But, like, regardless of, like, who he's facing, like, it's too early in this storyline.
Right.
There's still, like, too much, like, unexplored ground.
Well, I
for them to, like, job Kenny out.
I 100% want Kenny Omega to win every available title he can. I want him to win the I want him to fight Nick Aldis and win the NWA World title. I want him to go to New Japan. I want him to get the IWGP title. Like, I want him to literally collect every belt that's available because it's an unprecedented thing.
Like so many Infinity Stones.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that will, I think, to the world at large, make WWE seem like an afterthought. Because the real reason he would never get the match for any of the WWE championships is because WWE is not going to play that shit.
No.
But the way that they can spin it is he doesn't give a shit about the WWE titles because they don't mean anything. And WWE has no recourse against that because we're talking about 5-6 different wrestling companies in the world that Omega wants their championships and then doesn't care about WWE's.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if Ring of Honor would sign on to that.
Absolutely they would.
You think so?
I think every other wrestling company, I think, would be perfectly willing to be part of this storyline because it betters everyone. Because what you get out of it is eventually Omega's going to drop those titles. And every single one of those companies is going to get a new star out of whoever beats Omega to get their championship back.
It's true.
And that's the kind of thinking that AEW and Impact and Ring of Honor and New Japan and whoever else deal with that WWE never will and never will understand. Now, if it was up to Triple H, I believe NXT would be involved in that.
I can see that.
I really do. But that's not going to happen either. But yeah, Kenny Omega continues to collect belts, I think. But this match was awesome.
No, this match was
tremendously fun. Orange Cassidy played his role of being...
Well, they also, like, they were smart in that, like, despite the fact that it was a triple threat match, like, they didn't have interference until very late in the match.
Right.
And I thought it was going to be the Good Brothers, but it was Don Callis. And, like, Don Callis has nuclear fucking heel heat right now in AEW. Like,
he's such a key component.
So fucking hated. Like, and it's great. Like, I appreciate good heel manager types, and he knows what he's doing so fucking well.
Oh, we forgot to mention the Good Brothers coming out during the tag match with the Bucks and Eddie Kingston possibly murdering Big Luke Gallows.
Well, we saw him later in the evening.
We did.
To celebrate, but,
But, man, he just threw himself off the ring at Gallows, and I was like, oh, shit, I think he just killed him.
Yeah.
So, Omega retains. Pac still looks strong. Cassidy still looks strong. Who took the pin there?
Cassidy did.
Cassidy took the pin. Yeah. So, right. So, Pac still looks strong, and Cassidy's Cassidy. Cassidy, much like Darby, his gimmick is so strong that he can take losses.
Well,
and it won't matter.
Yeah. Like, he's...
To an extent.
He can't lose everything, and I don't think they're going to, make him lose
he's not going to lose everything.
But, he wins by being in the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good way to put it. And then finally, our main event that, again, in retrospect, we realized had to be the main event, the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle, which I was 100% positive I would have put money on the Pinnacle winning this, because it seems like you would want to get the new...
Here is my thinking going into this match. I thought we were going to have some sort of, Inner Circle heel turn shenanigans going on.
I kind of thought Sammy was going to turn on them.
I thought so, too. I thought it was going to be Sammy or potentially I don't particularly like Jake Hager. I'll just go ahead and call him an idiot.
I feel like he's too milquetoast to do a heel turn.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's kind of the big shaggy dog you point at somebody.
Get him.
Yeah.
I kind of I thought either by hook or crook or just MJF being a dastardly heel.
The douchier of the two.
But it turns out we didn't even have MJF factoring into the finish. It was just Sammy murdering Shawn Spears with a chair.
Which, if you're going to sacrifice somebody,
sure,
I think Shawn Spears is your guy.
Because the other person,
Dax, and Proud and Powerful barely even factored into this.
They had the bar fight segment.
But that was... It was entertaining. Yeah. With Conan. Special appearance by DJ Conan.
Yes.
But that was just kind of there. It didn't have any kind of bearing on really the beginning or the end of the match.
Yeah, well, it's situated in the middle, so...
But Jericho and
it was highly
everybody squared off as you expected them to.
It was highly entertaining. My one complaint is they did not have Hangman Adam Page randomly riding his horse, drunk, drunk in the background.
Yeah,
just one shot of that would have been. Perfecto.
I don't typically enjoy this kind of nonsense.
Here's the thing. If you're gonna have something nonsensical, fucking turn it up to 11.
Go for it.
Yeah, just make it completely fucking goofy.
And they, I wouldn't even say this was goofy though. It's
just highly absurd.
Yes.
And I feel like they get that.
Yeah.
They know.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they didn't try and they didn't try and play it straight, and they didn't try and make it too fucking goofy. But they're we're just gonna make this as crazy as we possibly can, and it worked.
Where they didn't make it silly, but they also didn't ask us to take it completely seriously.
Yeah,
they understood the tone.
Yeah.
And it worked out. And then what made me really happy, though, is that, as we said, it did end in the ring.
Yeah.
It ended with Sammy and Shawn Spears in the ring.
They fought back to Daly's place from the stadium. And, And
Guevara, after a loose definition of a wrestling match in a ring.
Yes.
Guevara got the pin, which was very cool for him. Big time for him. He won that match.
Yes, he did.
And then we get the Inner Circle celebrating. Everybody in Daly's Place singing along with the extremely heavily produced Chris Jericho song. And a happy ending to the event, which is why this was the right choice for the main event, because you sent the fans home happy.
Yeah.
And when it's your...
In retrospect, like, having it be their first show with fans back,
that's what they
definitely needed to, like, end it on a
Absolutely.
good note. And having douchebag Kenny Omega celebrating
would not have been
double douchebag Don Callis.
Nobody would have liked that.
Yes, no.
So
would have gotten Bash at the Beach levels of trash thrown in the ring.
Which for this event, at some point, I'm sure they'll aspire to that.
Yeah.
But for this event, this was not the time or the place. No. Man, 4-hour event. It chugged right along. I enjoyed.
They did a good job of pacing it and like putting matches where they needed to be on the card.
Yes.
They didn't overproduce the interstitials, which I appreciate. Like, that's one huge difference between them and WWE. Like, WWE does a great job producing those video packages, but it's almost like they do too much because they can.
It's like and granted this is not the case now, but if I'm watching one of their pay-per-views, I watch Raw and SmackDown. I do not need the extensive recap that you're giving me. Like, I don't need 12 minutes between matches.
I didn't even bother to watch Backlash because there is...
Well, I did, and that's part of the reason why I'm not watching Raw and SmackDown anymore. But anyway, AEW, Double or Nothing, fun time, thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't wait to watch Dynamite Friday night, and am just as invested, perhaps more so, as I was in AEW prior to this pay-per-view. So I'm in a very happy wrestling spot right now. AEW is my jam. NXT is my steady, like,
meat and potatoes.
Yes, meat and potatoes. And Impact is my jazzy dessert that I enjoy. That's never quite what I expect, but I love it every single time.
Fair.
Well, Arian, thank you for taking the time to record a little something for this week. I'm glad to touch base and see where we're at in the wrestling world right now. We don't do as much wrestling as we used to, but now I feel like it's kind of a... now that live crowds are going to be coming back, I feel like this is a time to really talk about it.
It's been so weird, like, not having live crowds, and, like, I want to say, like, that's been, like, part of the problem in WWE, but, like...
There are other larger problems, I think.
There are other larger things going on behind the scenes.
But I'll tell you this right now.
Whatever.
I cannot wait to go to... I will travel to Nashville to see Impact live the second I can do it. I will travel to see AEW live the second I can do it. I don't know that I would bother going to a WWE show if they came to Atlanta.
A Raw or SmackDown show, I wouldn't. NXT, I would.
NXT, I would, for sure. The next time they're at Center Stage, I'll be there.
Yeah, or wherever they're going to be.
But Raw or SmackDown, I wouldn't bother going right now.
No. And,
or even a pay-per-view.
Yeah, and it sucks because, like, again, like...
They've got the best talent in the world.
And I don't even think, like, Vince McMahon thinks, I want to make a bad show.
No, of course he doesn't.
Like, none of them are trying to make a bad show. Like, the talent especially, like, those people want to, like, this is their friggin' dream. They want to entertain people. They want to put on the best show they can. It's just... to me, it's kind of like you're not seeing the forest for the trees. You've just been in this friggin' rut for so long. You've carved such a path for yourself. You don't know any other way to walk it.
Yeah,
and it stinks, but like absent like big changes, I don't see me getting interested in Raw or SmackDown anytime soon, and that's a shame. Like the stuff with Roman that's going on is great, and I enjoy.
There are great things
watching videos of that, but like by and large, like it's just so formulaic and so whatever that I'm not that interested in being invested in it.
Well, and that's what bothers me is I there's so many names. I love Big E. I love Bayley. Roman's doing a great job. Cesaro's awesome. Like there's so many names in WWE that I'm a huge fan of, but that I just can't get as invested in as I want to because of the system. But it's okay because, as we've been saying, we have AEW, we have Impact, we have NXT. Options, we have alternatives, we have other things we can enjoy. So, regardless of anything else, it's truly an incredible time to be a wrestling fan right now. And it's only going to get better as things open up and as the year goes on.
I'm excited to see some of the latest batch of released WWE workers, where they show up and what their next move is.
45 days.
Laurel Van Ness, the hot mess, I hope will come back. If you're listening, Chelsea Green, I love you.
I'm sure she is. And the Iconics.
Yes.
Soon to... Here's my dream is the Iconics versus Fire and Flava in Impact Wrestling.
That would be delightful.
Well, thanks for talking, Arian. Thanks for listening, listeners.
Somewhere.
And we will be back. Actually, next week will be the Hot Summer Jams playlist. So tune in.
Well, there you go.
You know, I still cannot get used to this new version of Audacity that asks me to add an extra track and then start recording, as opposed to the old way where I just hit the record button and it automatically put a new track in. I don't understand this new way and why it's better, but that's so often the case with technology. Waze just updated. I use Waze because I like telling people where cops are. Waze just updated, and now when it pulls up the little menu when you first open it, instead of being able to just click on home, it's like home give ETA, and that does nothing, and then you have to go look home up. It's stupid. I don't understand. Guys, technology people, less options. We need less options in our technology, especially stupid options. If your option is stupid, don't put it in. All right. Speaking of options, you have many options in how you take in Needless Things. We're on Spotify and iTunes and Podbean and wherever you find your podcasts. You can go to YouTube and check out the Needless Things YouTube channel, where every single week there are at least 2 new toy reviews. This week was the new McGrady figure from The Thing from NECA, which was supposed to be part of their Father's Day releases, I guess. And I found it. I've been having good figure luck lately. So you can go check that review out. Kurt Russell is a beautiful man. And then Wednesday, speaking of beautiful, I reviewed the WWE Ultimate Edition Charlotte Flair. So go to the YouTube channel, Needless Things YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share, smash that like button. I love you guys.
Smash that like button if you like Needless Things.
You have been listening to a Needless Things podcast. You can follow Needless Things on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and at needlessthingspodcast.com. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.